Afternoon. State Senator Julia Coleman, the Republican, is with us on the John Schuster Coldwell Banker Hotline. And for the first time in history, Julia, you're going to be able to bring your kids on the floor of the Senate. Congratulations on getting this done.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled that this passed today.
Now, explain why this is important because this is not just about like bringing the kids to work for the fun of it.
Correct. This is a long overdue change in order to get with the times. We see company culture changing and young parents, especially women, flocking to employers that understand that childcare hiccups, they happen. And when I was going through it, I had a 1-year old and I was pregnant with twins when I was first elected. I was the only woman in the Senate having small children at the time. I was the youngest woman elected to the Senate. And so there wasn't a lot of people to talk to about some of the struggles that were seemed unnecessary in the Senate compared to the House when it came to carrying and caring for small children while being an elected official. And so it's twofold. One, it's just time to get with the times. And two, there are a lot of unique things about this job that require some flexibility. For example, I can't call in sick. I can't ask someone else to go vote for me. I can't speak for my district on the floor or have someone else present my bills when I'm not there. And we also don't have any set hours. There's times where I pack my bag Monday and I don't know when I'm coming back. There's been times where we've been on the floor for almost 24 hours. And so having this flexibility that says, we want young parents here because we represent young parents in our districts is long overdue, and I'm very excited it passed.
There have been times where mothers have been kind of unallowed to breastfeed their children. This happened to you. This happened to Senator Erin May Quaid, who is, I would say, diametrically opposed to you on almost all issues. But you guys work together on this thing, right?
Well, I think it was a great learning experience that if you want to see the sides come together, get between a mother and her child. And so there's still changes we need to work on. In my instant, there's nowhere right off the floor for women to pump or express milk or breastfeed their child.
There's no
And
room. You get really? There's no, I mean, that is almost astonishing in 2026.
there is a room in the Capitol building, but somewhere close to the floor when we're voting back to
Yeah.
back on things,
Yeah.
sometimes very quickly, that just doesn't happen. There also hasn't been any consideration for allowing time for mothers to do that. You'll just miss the vote or vote remotely and not get to speak on it. And so this was a lot of young moms coming together. It shouldn't be a partisan issue to just say, hey, times are changing. More young mothers are here than ever before, and we need to make some changes so that we can actually do both jobs.
Now, the Senate is slow to change rules, right? I remember that for a while, well, it was just a couple of years ago that they allowed you guys to drink water. It was just a couple of years ago that they allowed you guys to drink water at your kind of at your voting desk on the Senate floor, right? So, what was this uphill? I mean, 25 senators voted against this, which is to me a little embarrassing. But what was it an uphill battle for you? You think?
I think that it was in past years. I know we've talked about it in past years. And to Senator Umu Verbaten's point, and she's the senator I saw getting marched off the floor with her 7-month-old sick baby in her arms, which was kind of the tipping point. And I said, look, I'm sorry I didn't do more when it was my turn going through this.
Hmm.
Her point was, don't be sorry. We just needed more moms to back you up. And we've seen the largest ever class of young moms and young parents in the Senate. And so I wasn't surprised that it was able to move forth with so much speed.
You know, I do look at this and I think the larger message, obviously, the reality of the logistics for moms who are in the Senate will be much better. But the larger message, I think, is that there are young moms out there who are Republicans, who are Democrats, who are independents, who could make a difference for our state, who could serve their communities by running for office. And something like this, to me, signals, hey, like, step up. We will welcome you.
Absolutely, it does. I can't tell you how many women have expressed an interest or said they feel called to serve. And then when they learned more about the Senate, either told me, I think I'm going to wait until my children are older, or maybe I'll take a peek at the House, which has been allowing children since I think 2013.
Hmm.
I also handed out a letter to members from a group called Women Venture, which represents hundreds of female CEOs and business owners in the state in Minnesota, that said, your vote today is either going to say that motherhood is not compatible with serving in office, or it is, because we're changing our companies to make it that way, to make it more flexible. If there's a hiccup, we're going to allow our children in the boardroom. And so the culture is shifting, and I'm happy to see that reflected in the Senate here today.
Now, you do have to do you have to get permission from your caucus leader? There still is, the Senate floor isn't huge. So, I suppose perhaps there's some concern. I don't know. As a parent myself, I sure would not want like my kids hanging around with me at work if I could avoid it. But, but I guess like maybe there was concern that there's not enough room in there if everybody were to bring their kids. But there are still some procedures here, right?
Absolutely. You have to have permission from your caucus leader, and that's to make sure that children aren't being disruptive, that you're not using it every single day as sort of a substitute for daycare. It really is meant for when those hiccups come up in childcare. And I even said on the Senate floor today, this rule is not really going to apply to me. I have three little boys, all under the age of 7, and I wouldn't subject the Senate to the toddler fight club that I get to referee every day, and that they're old enough to go sit in a room off the chamber. I just had my 6-year-old here on Monday. He was speaking in the Education Policy Committee, and he was totally fine in a room off of the Senate floor. However, 3 years ago when he was 3 and I had to bring him, I had to have him stand with his hand on the Senate door outside and tell my 3-year-old, hey, buddy, you can't come with mom. I have to run in. I have to vote, and I need you to stay put. Please don't move your hand. And that's an example of when, if he could just come with me and sit on my lap for a few minutes, maybe I could actually have spoken about the bill and been a voice for my district instead of running in and pushing a button and having to leave my 3-year-old alone in the hall.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we just have to be realistic as to where the workforce is today, what the demands are on busy working families. And frankly, if we're going to let people bring their dogs out to every dang restaurant in Minnesota, I think we can have a little accommodation for state senators bringing their kids when they have to in an emergency.
I absolutely agree, especially keeping in mind that sometimes we're going until 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning unexpectedly. And that's hard to arrange for traditional childcare.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
can have backups to the backups of childcare, and still the schedule here can just be so unpredictable. So I hope that this encourages more young parents and young mothers to think about, hey, maybe I could do this job.
Congratulations on getting this done. You had told me before that you thought this was one of the bigger or biggest changes in the rules in the Senate in some time, right?
Correct. The first female senator started serving 99 years ago, and the only real change that we've made since then is that they're not required to wear ties. Obviously, I seem to resist that change quite
It's a bit
often
of
as
a
a frequent
fashion.
wearer,
Yes.
yeah, of them. And then allowing water, which even then was only after 1 hour of debate in a clear, unordained bottle
Oh
that
my.
remains under your desk. I think this is the most significant rule change we've seen potentially in the history of the Senate.
Congratulations getting it done today, and Julia Coleman working across the aisle to get it done. Maybe we need like we have different caucuses, like the Young Moms Caucus. I think we could get a lot done here.
Hey, that would be great, and I hope we grow in numbers as the years progress.
Pretty good. Julia, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the time.
Now, this wasn't super simple. So there were a ton of amendments offered by men, shockingly. There was one member who wanted to have children only under the age of 1 or under the age of 5 or under the age of 10 to be on the floor. The Senate Minority Leader, Mark Johnson, said, well, what if we let this rule expire at the end of the year and then revisit it again? Those both failed. Another senator, Guy, said, what if we convert a conference room off the chamber into a parenting room? These senators, man, like, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that they let women in. Why they do not want to change any of their traditions. No mother wants to bring her kids to work. It's not fun. But I think Senator Coleman, and as she mentioned, it was the other senator, Claire Umo Verbatim, who was escorted off the floor earlier this, I think it was last session, when she was escorted off the floor because she had her kid. It's a 168-year history of the Senate. They do not change their rules very often. It was not an easy path today.